My name is Ronnie Hostler, born and raised in Round Valley, Covelo, California, on my mother's side. My father's side is from Ukiah, California. A lot of family members up there. And I'm only 81, soon to be 82. I've done a lot of PR stuff. Started probably, our granddaughter was taken on the 7th of February in 2018. And we pretty much knew right away that Mendocino County Sheriff Department was kind of slack. And I found out a lot more. The more things I've done, the more things kept coming back to me from other people, what was going on. I've done so many documentaries, so many, and nothing's ever happened. I mean, there's only one lady got a hold of me from Kentucky. The people that did the Hatfield McCoys came to our house and did a documentary. She said she's seen it back there, and she's seen it, but then she tried to find it again to send it to me. But that was like last year, a couple of years ago that happened. Skeeters. Like I said, we've done a lot, and we found out a lot after our granddaughter was taken. And that was going on 7 years now. It all started with domestic violence. About 2 weeks before she went missing, where's your,
I'm not getting anyone from the outside.
about maybe 2 weeks. See, we didn't document things that happened because we didn't know that we'd be 7 years later. Our faith was in the sheriff department for them to take care of everything, but that didn't happen. We 2 weeks before she went missing, she got beat up by this perpetrator. He beat her up. He threatened to kill her. This was right in his grandmother's yard. They weren't girlfriend or boyfriend. They were ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, but she was still friends with the family. So she was down there visiting one of the family members, a friend. And he came in and drug her out by the top of her head. The witness that seen everything. Drug her out, beat her up, kicked her, hit her with some kind of metal thing. And she wrote a statement. Everything he did to her, everything he said to her. But she got away from him and run. And there's a field, this is on the reservation. She run out into the brush out there in the woods there, and she hid from him. But then he left, but then she had a family friend of his found her and took her to your dad's house. There she was so frustrated and hurt that she said she didn't want to live it. So they took her to the I think it was this hospital here for a 72-hour, what they call that.
Holding or something like that.
Yeah, so, but her father,
Where's Clara?
her father said she didn't belong there, so he came down and got her, took her out, said she didn't belong there. So that happened. She wrote a statement. So I asked the lead investigator at the time. Well, actually, my daughter came up on the 8th and said, Dad, Khadijah's missing, gone, and we can't find her. And I took her. So I just said, well, call the sheriff department, tell them to get on it. So that afternoon, somehow we were at the hospital here, and I called him. And I asked him, are you guys looking for my granddaughter? He said, well, what happened? That's why a guy, took off with her last night and tried to find her. He said, well, just a minute now. So he did something on his phone, and he said, well, she's not in the system. I said, okay, well, how are you going to do that? He said, well, give me an hour or two and I'll get her in the system. But he called me maybe an hour, 2 hours later and said, well, she's in the system now. Well, you guys going to go look for her? He said, yeah, well, we'll send a deputy up there. He didn't. So it was about 2 weeks after that, that's when he took her out of his house and he displayed a gun, a pistol. The two men that was there, the one guy that had the house, well, 2 weeks later, they sent a deputy there. He got a statement, so he took his statement. But the next day, he recanted. He recanted because a family member of the perpetrator threatened to kill him. I was told this by the lead investigator, that they knew who it was that threatened him. So it was from the 7th of February to the 19th of February. They got a phone call from, I heard through the grapevine, that a family member called called tribal police. We had 6 tribal police on that night when she was beat up and when she was missing. Called and told them that where this perpetrator was. So tribal took off, went down there where he was at, and him and his associates were waiting for them. So they took him in. They didn't take him in. They called the sheriff department. So the sheriff department came in and booked him, not for anything to do with Khadijah, parole violation. So they took him in, and the next day, his uncle, who threatened the guy, turned himself in for parole violation. And the next day, one of his associates turned himself in for parole violation. Took himself right out of the picture. And him too. So, was it what, month? They filed domestic violence charges on him. So we went down there, a month and a half, once a week, to his
Arrangement.
They read her statement. Well, back then, his lead investigator said they couldn't do nothing because she changed her story. But then, on the stand, the deputy read her statement. And that's something I always question, is if he was wanted for a parole violation, why didn't they get him when he beat her up? Why didn't they go to it then? But they didn't. So a lot of things happened in that time. Then at that time, the sheriff of Mendocino County had 3 years left on his contract. He was a big shot. He resigned. He got out of it. So we've been we've been fighting ever since, doing a lot of PR stuff and fighting with sheriff department. And then before this lead investigator retired, who happens to be her family cousin, who was a tribal chairman of Round Valley. He told me that he said that we really messed up at the start of her investigation. And I'll never forget that. Down the line, we found out that from a deputy who knows a couple of other deputies was there when she was taken. A statement was made by this the investigator that he told me that they were ready. All they needed was a word from him because he was a boss. He said that, I know her. She's a druggie and a tweaker, and she will show up someplace. But after 2 weeks, he decided to send a deputy to, that's where the deputy went, 2 weeks later to get a statement. So that's what we're up against now. And when this first happened, we didn't have MMIW or MMIP. I didn't know nothing about it. But until we did a press conference in front of the sheriff department there in Ukiah, and this lady, Margaret Epford, had a banner 20 feet long, 4 foot, that 4 or 5 people had to hold it. Well, we did a press conference there. I wasn't supposed to speak because I had my nephew. I wasn't very into the social media stuff, only on Facebook. But I wasn't supposed to speak, but he wanted me to stand there with him, so I did. So he said a little bit, then he handed me the mic. So I didn't really want to talk, but as I looked over the crowd, I seen his grandmother and the immediate family standing in the back. Yeah. Then I decided I was going to say something. So I took the mic. The sheriff, the head sheriff of Mendocino County, motioned me, telling me, "What? You don't say anything that will cause a riot." Okay. But I couldn't resist. I did say a lot of things about why, and I kept asking them why. Why is our granddaughter still missing? Why? I'm still saying it in the sheriff's department. So we're still fighting. We're still hoping to find her so that we could put her in our family. But after 6 years now, I run into roadblocks. The 280, run into that in jurisdiction. 2 roadblocks. I went back to Arizona with my grandson who was playing basketball at that time, and the young man, I asked him, he was familiar with that place up there. He's from there. I asked him if he knew where the BIA office was, because I always heard that the main office was there in Arizona, Mesa or something like that. And we were pretty close in there. So I said, I'd like to get in there. Can you show me where that's at in the morning so I can maybe go down and try to get in and talk to them? Because before that happened, I got in touch with one of the BIA guys, But he was from he was out of Albuquerque. But then I heard that after emailing and doing talking to people, I heard that he also was in Arizona. So that night, my little friend called me and said he knew some people in high places in Arizona, in that area. That he said, and I got a hold of them, and they said to be down there at 10 o'clock. So we were down there, and I went in there and talked to them for an hour and a half. But he said, well, everything that I'm telling you, you need to do. So they said, okay, we'll see what we can do. And we came home. A week later, I got another call from the same people there in Arizona. They want to do a Zoom. So we did a Zoom, and he told him a little bit more. He asked me a lot of questions. So I told him. He said, okay, I think that's all we need. I think we can help you. Well, that didn't happen. It's, because of jurisdiction in the 280. So we, right now, my main goal is to get her out of the cold case. No, that's something that I need help from the legislatures in California. I need help from them to get that done. So we he retired. The other guy resigned. So this other young man took over, and his statement when he was handed the job was that he was going to solve Khadijah's case. Well, that soon changed, but he couldn't do nothing. Couldn't do nothing until they find a body. Even though this guy's still in Covelo, his whole family is. You can tell how they smile and they'll talk loud, they laugh loud when we're around because and I don't usually try to go to any events in Covelo, but my daughter went yesterday, and she heard these same people just laughing as loud as they could because they knew she was there. But now the BIA, I didn't know nothing about them when this first happened. I didn't know nothing about them. It's FBI. They didn't have jurisdiction, so they couldn't come in. So this guy Matt kept talking to me, and he was telling me what BIA was. They were worthless. So I remembered before the granddaughter went missing, I remember them talking about a task force. So I started digging. That's how I run into this Dustin French. I kept digging and digging and calling all around. I finally got in touch with them, and we went to a deal over at Sacramento State. They had about 5, 6 tables. We went to every table. DNA, stories, pictures, everything. One last table, and it was out in the patio. So I walked out there, and this great big burly guy walked up to me. Ronnie Hostler, Dustin French. Okay, finally got to meet you. Well, happy to let you know that there's nothing we can do in California. And here he is in California telling me that.
This guy, I just want to say that he has been involved in domestic violence before she got him. He was married to somebody, and she was having difficulty with him, from over in the valley. So He's lined up for domestic violence, and I guess they never did look in his record or anything for anything like that. And then, with my granddaughter, she was abused. She was really abused. She was really abused. Yeah. And so, that's why that never came up about him being, a domestic violent person. Went to jail many times, incarcerated. Yeah. So I don't know whether they dug that up on him. No one's not saying anything out of the sheriff department about it. They haven't heard anything. Not that I know. He's an Indian native.
We're all related. He's related to me. He's related to my granddaughter. We're all related. So. But what he said about our granddaughter really hurt. And she was into drugs. She was into alcohol. But that didn't give them shouldn't have been treated like that. There to be not here now because of that. So we're still hoping, we're praying that sheriff department people that were here in the capital. I've been there about 4 or 5 times. And I've told the same thing over and over again that about trying to go back to day one when she was beat up, when she wrote a statement. It was read on a stand under oath. And still nothing's been done yet because of those laws. And this deputy, this new sheriff that took over, I've known him since he was raised in Covelo. We were talking and I asked him, if you guys would have came in that night or even 48 hours after, I said my granddaughter would probably still be alive. He said, no. What do you mean no? She was already gone. But he wouldn't tell me no more. And it was 6 months after she was gone that we had a meeting with the sheriff before he retired. He declared her dead 6 months after. So I asked him, after everybody else, I usually let everybody else talk before I talk. So I asked him, I said, when does perjury come into this investigation? He said, well, it's like this. They could lie to us, Sheriff Department, but they can't lie to the FBI. I said, really? Yeah, they can't lie to the FBI. Well, I've often wondered, why weren't they involved? But then I found out that jurisdiction. We had some family members go to Santa Rosa, which is down the south here, to the FBI office, and they asked them about that. And they said all the sheriff department requested of them was to check cell phones. That was it. They were not in the investigation, just cell phones. And so we had another meeting at the sheriff at the little substation there in Covelo, had 2 FBI people there. So I quoted that same statement the sheriff told me. this one FBI person looked at me and she turned around to this other person and said, "Oh, you know more about that than I do." So it was a lady. So she started rattling off, and I couldn't listen to it anymore. What they were passing about. I don't know, I might look like a dummy and act like a dummy sometimes, but I still understand what's going on. So we're still hoping, like I said, we're still hoping that we can meet with some more people over there. But we did have a meeting over there, and it was good to hear the Attorney General mention her name. And there was another assembly person from down south who mentioned her name because we got banners all over everything. We got these bracelets, we got bumper stickers, we got all that, all over. So, you want to ask me some questions?
No, I'm just interested in your story and
We've been to a lot, attending all of these events and conferences that they have put out. They call on him, and there we go. Here we go. And we went clear up to Yurok country, so we attended a couple up in that area. Yeah. And this one chairman, he told Ronnie after he went there a couple of times, he said, Ronnie, he said, you opened up a can of worms. So they're into, in this domestic violence thing. So that's what this guy told him.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't being really taken care of in different areas, the domestic violence and all of this stuff, until people start talking about it and hearing other people. Yeah, we even went into Nevada. They requested him to come to Nevada. He went over there and spoke. Yeah. So a little reservation they had over there.
in Elko.
In Nevada. What was the name of that place?
Carson City.
Carson City, in that area.
And there was a lot of them that came up and haven't heard anything about. Same things happening in their reservations. Sheriff Department, stuff like that. So when I went up to Arcata, I met this guy in Sacramento, Chris Lorenz. I found out he was a coordinator there. So we got acquainted. We got to be pretty good friends because we met at 2 or 3 different events. Well, when I went to Arcata, I asked. I didn't really recognize him, but I asked if he was in the house. So he stood up. Well, he got drilled after that. I mean, there were different people drilling him. They didn't know about him. There was even our legislators in Northern California. I don't know one from the other state. They did come out and say, well, we are going to get. He was the only one out of whole California. Chris Lorenz, one guy. So they made a statement that they would get him more help. Last time I talked to him, they did find him a person to help him, another agent to help him, but that person I talked to him. He was in charge, that one person in charge of 5 states. 5 states. So that didn't help. That don't help me here in California. But I still have hope that they did send 2 the sheriff did let 2 agents come in, but they only could read what he wanted them to read. So when they went to a house to talk to this young man that described a pistol, well, they got kind of a rude introduction from the boy's family. Then I got ridiculed on Facebook because I brought these BIA guys into their reservations and harassed their members. And I even got reprimanded from a MMIW advocate out of San Francisco for putting a name on social media.
They reprimanded you?
Huh?
They said something to you?
Yeah, they reprimanded me for putting this lady's name on Facebook, who was screaming at the wake that it was Khadijah's fault because the BIA coming on our reservation in Round Valley. They didn't do nothing. They came in, went out, because they didn't have nothing more to go on, because evidently they didn't get to look at the case files either. That's what we can't do. My daughter, 2 weeks ago, she said she wanted to find out what all they were doing. So she called the sheriff and asked him, told him she wanted to look at the case file. And he said, we can't do that because it's still an ongoing investigation. And then I heard that was scapegoat. That's their way of saying that they can't do it. And I can't reach out to anybody over there in the Capitol to try and break that. I don't know what I would have to do to break that. To find out how many years has it been since they even talked to anybody. And if it's going on 2 or 3 years, have to be at least 3 years before they even talk to anybody. But still tells us that it's under investigation. So we're
kind of floating around without any help. Everybody's passing the book, not get our answers that we want, not getting that. That's the way I see it. My version.
So we're still, I've never refused to talk to anybody. I don't refuse to talk to anybody.
He has done a podcast. Some person came in, filmed us, and got his, what he wanted to say, talk, and everything like that. And then my daughter was on that, little bit of that, and another friend was on that. So he was documented everything we had, and then he filmed it, and then he was working on it to get it much better, take some stuff out, how they do in movies, but so then we ended up, he called Ronnie up, he said, okay, I got kind of like a finishing touch. He said, if you come to Chico and we'll show you what we got. So we went over to, was it Chico?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chico. Yeah.
Chico State College.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that would be broadcast, what he told you?
Well, he thought in the middle of May.
Mm-hmm. The
Should we
PBS.
get PBS stations? There's a lot. My memory, I drilled it over and over. Like I've told several of them that they always say circumstance. I said, but you know what? There's a lot of hearsay I said, if you don't listen to hearsay, then you're not doing your job. If you're listening to hearsay, you better listen, because you never know. Sheriff keeps telling me, I said, talk to these guys, well, this guy, oh, he's so whacked out, he's drugged out, his brain is. I said, yeah, but he might say something and not even know what he's talking about. Might say the right thing, right? And not realize it. But why should I have to tell the sheriff's department how to do it? Solve anything. When I went to, I got into the victim witness program, finally, after 4 years. They told me, this lady, the main lady didn't want to talk to me, so just put another person on there. Want to know what I wanted. So I told her I want to know about my grandparents' investigation. She said, there is no investigation. I said, really? What happened? Well, for one thing, we don't have a suspect. And the other thing is, what evidence they had is exhaustive. That's why there's no investigation and she's in a cold case file. Well, that's when I started calling back. I got a attorney who got in touch with me, of course, out of Washington, D.C. She got in touch with me because there was a lady in Montana called her and told her about me and our investigation. So she called me and wanted to know. So we talked a lot, and she said, well, I want to represent you. She's a pretty high-pro attorney. She knows Deb Holland and all those people back there. She knows all them. And so we talked quite a while, and then we did a phone call with another BIA guy, the main guy, Marcelino, and it's Tim. We did a 3 or 4-way phone call. But she said, I'm gonna let them all know that I want to represent you, but I can't work in California, so I don't know what good that's gonna do to me. I appreciate her. That was pretty neat. I thought that was pretty good. But I have, every time I talk to somebody, they want to get in touch with her. But, in fact, I got a phone call from Newsweek 2 weeks ago.
Excuse me. Someone's whipping their lips?
2 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a Newsweek person. And she wants to get a hold of her to talk to her. But I don't know, I don't know if I should start pointing everybody to her, because I know she can't do nothing in California. Just knowing that she said, telling them that she will represent me, I guess. That was pretty neat. So but do you know the sheriff's department, they did a lot. They did a lot, but it was too late when they decided to do anything. My daughter kept harping on about a lake, the pond actually. So they drained that pond, and they took dogs in there, Abra dogs, run in there, and they didn't find nothing. So every time my daughter would hear a rumor, she would tell them, so they would go to these different houses and go around them. I always felt like that will look more like in their favor. They try to do something. They'll say, well, we tried to do this, try to do that. I kind of look at it like that. But they're trying to make up for what they didn't do right from day one. Day one is when they're responsible. I hold them reliable. And I won't give up on that until those people I elected in the Capitol. And I told them over there once before when I voted for all you people out here. I voted for you. You didn't need my help. You didn't need my vote, but you still needed help. And now I'm here asking for your help. I don't think they listen to me now. Only one vote. So we're pretty well known to him. In fact, we were told, Khadijah's case is probably one of the biggest right now.
Oh, yeah.
But they did talk about revising the 280, talk about jurisdiction. He did get up there we went to a vigil over there last weekend.
Yeah.
Went to a candlelight vigil, and he did say that they need for the legislatures to take a long look at this 280 because 280 is protecting the sheriff department. Mm-hmm. He did bring that up, and they're still having a meeting about it. But who knows what's going to happen if this bunch gets booted out of the Capitol and a new bunch moves in, will they still have that same, or will just let everything go?
Right.
That's what scares me.
Yeah, he's reaching out to people. You guys people need to start coming, start putting in inputs and try to run and get into my seat or, get more Indians in the Capitol. We need that. He's pushing. He's been telling them. We're going to push it. We
did a story over in Sacramento at this big Catholic church, with a big church. They got a hold of me. I want to know if I want to talk about Khadijah. I said, okay, yes, we can make it over there. So it was listen to her story. That was the name of it. So we went over there. We was over there early. Got sitting right up in the front. They did a lot of music stuff, it was a choir. So it come time for us. So we walked up there, and that place was packed. There was over 200 people that church. So we did. I talked about the sheriff department, what was happening. They said they told us later that that church was full because over more than half came just to listen to her story. We tell her story.
Oh, that's good.
And I did a radio interview, and I had to go in the back room, and I did a radio interview. I said a lot of things which I couldn't stop. I told about different things with our granddaughter. I run into her last weekend. She come up to me. Remember me? The big church? Yeah. And I did another interview with a program called Native Ground. Well, she came up to me. I don't know if I remembered her. I said, well, wait a minute, let's see. And I was trying to figure out who this was. Then I remembered that she was from Native Ground. And we did an interview. Me and her was sitting on a big brick porch or something there. And she wanted to do an interview. She came up and asked me if she could interview me. So we did that. Then I got a young lady come up and I got to call her. She's works for Sacramento Bee. She wants to interview me, talk about MMIP. So I told her I'll be doing that next week. I'll just call her, see what. I'll talk to anybody I can.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah, we have another friend from over in Point Arena. You gone away over that, the ocean side?
Not yet.
Yeah, we have, they went through the same thing as us.
Still going through.
Yeah, the sister was murdered. And they can't find a person, you know. And then people know, I mean, in our valley, we have 1,100 people in our valley. It's a small valley. And everybody knows, I know everybody knows, the Indian people knows lots, but they're not coming forth.
Yeah.
That's why the collection of that is not taken yet.